Hey Startup Nation, I am so glad you came back to join us for another edition of the Startup Life. You clearly are ready to get the tools you need to get ahead of the competition. Go ahead and give us a 5-star rating while you're here. Now, if you're looking for an ad-free experience, go ahead and sign up for our Patreon page, where you will get exclusive content and access to our digital products that we're beginning to launch. The link is there in the show notes. And if you want to ask questions directly to some of our guests, follow the Startup Life Podcast Club on Clubhouse, as some of our conversations will start to happen there. But back to the task at hand. Are you ready to level up? Of course you are. Get ready as the Startup Life Podcast begins now.
It's time to be about that life, the startup life. Here's your host, Dominic Lawson.
All right, Startup Nation. So I hope you're ready to receive some value today. My name is Dominic Lawson, and this is the Startup Life, the show for entrepreneurs and career-minded professionals. You know, Startup Nation, there's a lot of craziness going on, just absolute craziness going on, especially if you live in the Memphis area. But that's neither here nor there. But when it comes to your business and scaling up your business and your professional life, you know, there's always room to improve. There's always room to grow, which is why we brought back our amazing guest for the show. This will be her third time here on the Startup Life. We got founder of Akami Enterprises, Simone Santana. Simone, how's it going, ma'am?
Hey.
All righty. We're so glad to have you back on the show, man. How you been doing? I know you had that Dallas trip not too long ago, right before we had the big snowstorm, the big freeze down here in the South. Just kind of tell us about your trip and your rest and relaxation. I guess, what am I looking for? What word am I looking for? I'm getting a brain fart. Rest and relaxation tradition or procedure, if you will. That sounds so clinical, but go ahead, man. Go ahead.
See, it was supposed to be that. And I should have known that when I had to cancel my flight going down there, I should have knew then that I needed to stay. But
Gotcha.
no, I wanted to go, and I only got to see a bit of the city one day, but by Sunday, my flight was getting canceled every day. And after the first day, I'm like, okay, cool, another day down here. No, it got to the point where I literally started panicking.
Right.
It was bad. And now, luckily, I was staying in a neighborhood where they weren't doing the power shifting with the utilities.
Right.
I'm so grateful. But the water did freeze.
Oh, no.
The pipes did freeze.
Right.
And when I finally got back to the airport, I ended up chatting with this lady who flew in with me. Like, we both flew into Dallas, so we ended up getting back on the same flight.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally the most horrible experience. I feel like the information that people were sharing on social media were nothing in comparison to actually being there.
Right.
Like, nobody was prepared, of course, but
right.
to hear, like, for example, Crown Plaza flooded the entire hotel.
That's
it was
crazy.
Flooded on each floor. The lady that I was talking to stayed on the 15th floor and had to walk down 15 flights of steps to find food.
Wow.
And everything was wet. Like, it was a mess. It was a mess, and people were fighting over food and fighting over water. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm glad to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I'm done traveling in February. I know that for sure.
Gotcha. You know, it's crazy because, you know, this time last year in February, little did we know our whole, you know, life and world was going to change. And here, you know, you think a year after the fact, you know, you kind of get used to this new normal, whatever they call it and stuff like that. And so you feel like you go travel again, and then all of a sudden some more shenanigans happen. So I definitely, just shenanigans. But you bring up an interesting point when it comes to entrepreneurs, because like we got to take that resting, right? You know, those resting periods, those vacations, right? You know, and kind of, if you would, Simone, just kind of share why that's important, because like, I know we always talk about work and grind, but it's also time to, you know, rest and play sometimes. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Right. That is so true. Like, a lot of people feel like, I admire, like, when people say, you know, oh, I grind 25/8 or late night, early morning. I'd be like, oh, that's cute. You know,
right.
their first burnout. Then they're going to be ready to quit.
Right.
It is important that you must relax. Like, you're no good for anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. And it took me a while to learn the same, but literally now I have a 4-day work week in my business.
I hear that.
I have 2 days off for, like, the family, and 1 day off for if I decide to drink.
Right.
But it's important to relax, because that's how your creative juices come again.
That's so important.
It's how you focus again for what you are set for to do.
For sure.
It is important. At 25-8, no, that's not cute.
Right.
Let's not do that. Take the time to relax and then get back to it. But I know the most important part is when you decide to have an off day, actually use it as an off day. Don't still check emails. Don't still accept calls. Don't still do the things to do. No, be off, chill out, then get back to it the next day.
For sure. I'm not even going to sit up here and lie. Full transparency. That's the part I have an issue with, like checking the emails and checking the voicemails. I have to like tap, you know what I'm saying? Right. I have to do that to myself sometimes, because, and it's, one of those things where like there's a little bit of FOMO there, a little bit of fear of missing out. You know what I mean? But, you're so right. But, one of the things I try to do is have like those kind of like intermittent type resting situations. Like a lot of times people think, that like I do drop a lot of like content and stuff like that, but a lot of people don't realize that like sometimes I'll go 2 weeks without dropping content. It's just that when I do drop the content, you about to get a whole mother load, a whole dump truck full of content at one time, but they don't realize that because, they don't realize I'll be taking those breaks in between, because that's how I kind of circumvent that burnout, because it's real. It is very real. So I know all about that for sure. So I appreciate you sharing all that.
Absolutely.
For sure. Me and you, we like to go get a real good steak in between there. And, when it's time to rest and stuff like that. So I'm curious, because it's been a while since we talked to you, and I know you have clients and stuff like that you've been working with and stuff like that. What are you seeing from your clients as far as like some of the things they're trying to do to kind of scale? Because, once again, we've lost quite a few businesses and stuff like that due to COVID and the economic downturn that came with it. So what are you seeing out there in the business landscape? What are some things, maybe some things people are getting right? Maybe some things some people should improve on?
Well, primarily at first, I was seeing the panic. I've always encouraged entrepreneurs, small business owners to shift into the digital world.
I hear that.
Automate where you can. Make this virtual where you can. Not at the time, I was pushing it simply because we need to learn how to free up our time.
We do.
As an entrepreneur, typically we're wearing many hats, but that doesn't mean you need to work, around the clock. So the things that I was saying then, like, hey, let's switch this to digital, let's automate this, and everybody was, yeah. Now it's, oh my God, how do I,
right.
So now it's just a matter of guiding business owners on the shift, like switching over to the digital world because of COVID, but also to ensure that you're still generating a revenue in the midst of what we're going through with the economy right now.
For sure. No, I definitely understand that. I know a lot of times people are, they kind of, believe it or not, they still kind of have a little bit of hesitation kind of making that digital shift, even though all around us, people are, kind of making that shift, whether it be through podcasts or whether it be through digital downloads of like, PDFs of like, whatever, like books and, other type of workshop stuff and webinars and stuff like that. But it's fascinating to me that people still have that hesitation. You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No, and it's true. And at the time, like, I can honestly say, like, it seemed as if there have been times where it seemed like I'm the bad guy. Like, you're trying to push to do something new. And I'm like, this is good for you. And then here we are a year later. It's like, oh, remember I needed to do that thing. Yeah, let's do it. Let's not even count on the pad. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Right.
Simply because it is imperative to make the shift now to stay afloat in business. Like, we don't have the option of closing down, especially if your business is your only source of income. All you can do now is, where can I make changes? So because of that, I have picked up a lot on consultations with people, ready and having the mindset of, okay, I'm ready to make this change. What do I need to do?
For sure.
So it's been a bittersweet beauty, but a beauty nonetheless.
I hear that. Once again, Startup Nation, we're talking to Simone Santana, founder of Akami Enterprises. And also make sure you check out everything she has going on at SimoneMastermind.com. We have that link there in the show notes for easy access if you listen to the replay on the podcast. Simone, I want to ask you something. I'm going to fill you in with a little backstory here. So right now, there's this Egyptian model. Her name is Salma El-Shami, right? And she's like a model person, one of those like branding, influencers, people who be on Instagram and be like, social media influencers and stuff like that. Right. And so she recently got in trouble because she took some pictures at a place that the government didn't want her to take any pictures at. And so my question is this, right? Because I know a lot of people who you work with, listen to the show, they're all trying to build personal brands, right? And so when people kind of are faced with stuff like that, we always hear that thing, there's no such thing as bad publicity or whatever the case may be. If you're an influencer and you come up with a situation where I could get in trouble, but it may be great for the brand, which side of that coin should you kind of focus on, in your opinion, of course?
Oh, shucks. Oh, okay. Well, you're talking with somebody who believes in making it work out of nothing.
Of course.
I do feel that, of course, all publicity is good publicity, in my opinion.
Right.
But I feel like if you do not have that, you have to ride that wave. Yes,
I hear that.
Be bad,
right.
But if you're gonna fold, then it's not gonna benefit you.
I hear that.
Like, yes, I understand this may have happened and it wasn't the best light, but let me capitalize on that and utilize that for a brand purpose. A lot of people have scaled their brands due to bad publicity.
Absolutely.
But they end up making it turn around. Why? Because they didn't fold. They didn't cry about it. They didn't spaz out on social media and things of that nature. So I'm all for it, because I'm waiting for one of my TikTok videos to get me viral so I can be like, hey, I need you to come to SimoneMastermind.com for your brand. All right.
I hear that. Right.
Literally, yes.
Right. Exactly. And I figured you might say that because, a lot of times people, they get, I'm not going to say they get skittish or anything like that, but they're a little hesitant, right? Because it's like, either way, whether it's like, to me, it's like, no matter if you put just like, wholesome stuff out there or you have a little edge out there, people going to have something to say regardless. All right. So it's almost like you might as well just go ahead and do you any damn way. You know what I mean?
And that's true. Like, even with me, like, prime example, I love my martinis. I love to have my Tito's. I'm like their unpaid spokesperson. They need to cut me a check. But anyway, it got to the point where people were like, how is it that you're doing business and you do the whole cocktail? Simply because this is a part of my personality. Of course, I'm not out getting drunk, but it's just the fact of I understand the importance of a work-play balance.
Of course.
I'm going to have this martini, but I'm going to tell you how to level up your brand in less than 6 months. I'm going to take this shot,
right?
But I'm also going to show you how to close on contracts. And that comes from having a perfect work-play balance in your own company culture, which is why now my consultations, I don't just say, book a hour consultation. No, it's come have a martinis with the mastermind.
I hear that. Right.
We're going to have a drink, but we're going to talk some stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's important, right? There's nothing wrong with like that balance, if you will. And I think, again, like, I think a lot of times, let's just be honest. A lot of times, we take ourselves way too serious. You know what I mean? And what people don't often realize is, like, when you do that, like, that can actually be kind of a put off, if you will, because like there's no level of relatability, right? It's like, oh, anytime I'm around this person, I gotta be hoity toity and stick in the mud. You know what I mean? And so what I've noticed that like a lot of personal brands is that a lot of people, that importance is like being relatable, like. Yeah, they're about that business, but they you can have a beer or two with them as well, and they'll be just as fun, or that time will be just as valuable. So I appreciate you sharing all of that, Simone.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sure, for sure. So now I've noticed you've kind of, you've been kind of on the TikToks a little bit, right? Talk about, letting loose a little bit. I know you're on the TikToks these days, and it's funny because, back in the day, back in my day, a long time ago, like the MySpaces and the Facebook, or especially Facebook, people are probably listening to this probably don't even remember MySpace. So let's just stick to Facebook. Facebook was for kind of the younger audience and stuff like that. But slowly over time, it kind of turned to using it for business purposes and stuff like that. And it seemed like we're kind of seeing that with TikTok a little bit. It kind of, I know TikTok got a lot of people through this pandemic from, being entertained and stuff like that. But we're starting to see some people really focus on and using it for business. What's your opinion about using TikTok for business purposes?
I absolutely love it, simply because video in general, video gets more engagement on social media. So why not use a platform that is centered around making videos? I've met some amazing business owners off TikTok simply from them creating profiles and sharing business tips or cracking jokes, but all centered around the industry that they are in. I think it's an amazing idea because videos convert. Videos convert into paying customers. So it's just a matter of, are you going to jump on this train and make money or not type thing. But I think it's amazing because it forces people to show their personality, show who you are, represent your brand, show that you are credible in what you do. So whoever isn't on it yet, I would say get on it because it's a beautiful thing.
For sure. In that same vein, along with TikTok, during this pandemic, we've seen the app of Clubhouse has kind of risen in popularity, like having conversations and stuff like that. I think last time I checked, Clubhouse is valued at $1 billion, and I think it just started like a few months ago. At least that's when I started hearing about it. Was a few months ago. So it seems like not just like the videos with TikTok, but just like good conversations, kind of like what you're talking about. When kind of sitting down with some of your clients and stuff like that, it seems like good conversations have kind of come back into the fold as far as like great branding and stuff like that. What's your take on Clubhouse and everything that's going on there?
Clubhouse, I am glad that it came out to be, simply because there are some individuals who have plenty to say and plenty to share and don't want to jump on the camera.
Right.
I used to one.
Exactly.
I will be on Clubhouse and I haven't drew my eyebrows on yet.
Gotcha.
So we're on that, on a call or having a conversation regarding how to improve business. I think that was an amazing platform to create. And the way to network, like, how people come in, introduce themselves, it forces you to perfect your elevator speech. A lot of people don't realize how important it is.
I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right. I wanted to reemphasize that point. I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Because I was thinking about the first time they call it got on stage. The first time I stepped on stage, I am not gonna lie to you, I flopped. I was like, oh my God. But it forced me to be like, okay, ma'am, you've been doing this stuff over 12 years. You know your stuff. What happened right there?
Right.
So constantly getting on calls, it literally encouraged me. Perfect your elevator speech. Brag on yourself in your profile, connect with other like-minded people. And it makes it so much easier because you don't have to seek them out. Like they're there and they're waiting for you to show up.
Right.
I have gotten so much business from Clubhouse. Yeah, the new IG followers and stuff like that. And I'm talking about the ones that are paying invoices. So it's a beautiful thing.
Right. Absolutely. Paid invoices is always good.
In the process,
right.
Love it.
Right, for sure. No, paid invoice is always a good thing. Definitely understand that one for sure. It's funny because like I said, it seems like like you were just talking about TikTok, but it seems like now like a lot of people are appreciating Clubhouse for something that you said, where it's like I don't have to get on camera and I can wear my baseball cap and won't be a problem. While I'm kind of talking to angel investors and stuff like that. Cause I think that's what, my wife Kenda has been listening to a lot on Clubhouse, like a lot of like series, investors, people who are from, venture capitalist firms and stuff like that, people looking to invest and stuff like that. And they have some great conversations, on there as well. Once again, Startup Nation, we're talking to Simone Santana, founder of Akami Enterprises and also the curator of Simone the Mastermind.com. Make sure you check out that website. We have a link there in the show notes, for easy access. So I want to ask you about this because, a lot of people, know the company Amazon, right? Very familiar with Amazon Prime, the whole nine. And so a few weeks ago, Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO, kind of stepped down as CEO. He's still going to be chairman of the board, but he stepped down as CEO of Amazon. I guess I'm curious, just to, get your opinion on this. When you think about Amazon and the job that Jeff Bezos did to kind of create this behemoth, let's just be honest, it's a behemoth of a company, to go from selling books online to now challenging the FedExes and UPSs and the Postal Service on the front lines. Kind of talk about, what are some lessons learned that somebody can, take from the building of Amazon and Jeff Bezos, in your opinion?
Well, first and foremost, I would love to have lunch with that guy. So if
who would
ever tunes in, I need him to call me.
Absolutely.
Okay? But he the way that Amazon came out to be has always been a motivation for me, simply because of how he started and where he is now.
Right.
Oftentimes we dream small. We dream small when it comes to a business idea or even our own brand. But Amazon is a prime example of how literally dream big to the point of where it scares you and watch how your business will thrive. I bet he never imagined the day of when 2021 hit, I'm going to retire from this multi-billion-dollar company.
Right.
A company that started off in a way that has completely expanded now. But one thing I will say, like I was just saying, that it's very important to dream big with your own business and connect yourself with individuals to ensure that you can bring those dreams to fruition. Stop playing small.
Right.
Play big, monopolize where you can. And take it from there.
Absolutely. I'm reminded of, speaking of Jeff Bezos, I'm reminded of you talking about dream big and stop playing small, which I think is super important. Startup Nation. I think we're going to name that the title of this episode. Play big, stop dreaming small, something like that. But anyway, I'm reminded of that picture of him in like his first, I guess, Amazon world headquarters in '99 with the big ass computer and the spray painted Amazon sign behind him. Right, extremely humble beginnings. And so when you talk about how he came from that until now, it really is one of those amazing stories, one of the most amazing business stories, and one that can definitely motivate you as an entrepreneur or just somebody who's pursuing something, pursuing your talents in this life. So I appreciate you sharing all that.
Absolutely. Like, and for anyone listening, if you haven't seen the picture, please go look it up, because it's once you see that and then see how Amazon has transformed over the last 20 plus years, it goes to show that it is imperative to dream big and plan accordingly and make it happen.
Right. For sure. For sure. I wanted to ask you this because, you were talking about your Dallas trip there. And, I think there was a point last week where, well, as of this recording, there was a point last week where I think 75% of the country was like under ice and snow and having a snowstorm advisory and stuff like that. And here in the American South, we don't really get snow like that, right? We're talking about like 8, 9, 10 inches of snow. We don't really get snow like that. But all I can think about as I was, being outside in the snow and stuff like that, like there's some entrepreneurial ventures out there, especially in the South, because one thing I noticed that a lot of people didn't have shovels here in the South, right? I didn't even realize that a lot of people didn't have shovels or like somebody to kind of, get rid of the snow on their street and stuff like that. Exactly. So I guess one of the things that, and you probably know all about this. One thing I'm always fascinated about, like when there's scenarios where there's adverse situations or adversity or whatever the case may be, it seems like there's always potential for not necessarily an entrepreneurial venture, but always a chance to learn something. But definitely, I always think about when there's a scenario like this, there's always like a business opportunity somewhere, whether it's shoveling snow and stuff like that. I guess I'm curious, when you're talking to your clients, how do you get them to like see, look, there's opportunity all around you. Sometimes you just got to think hard.
Well, with me, I step into my consultations or my meetings and I let everybody know off the top, treat me like your favorite cousin. And I say that because your favorite cousin is going to give it to you exactly how you need to hear it. Not how you want to.
That's true.
But how you need to hear it. And you're going to receive it well. If I'm just stepping in as your little timid business consultant, no, you're probably not going to understand the message. But with that, like you were just saying about the business opportunities, I felt the same way. Like I didn't have a shovel. And because I didn't have something that could cost me 10 or 15 bucks, I was ready to pay somebody $60.
Right.
To fix for me. And I saw, and I get the whole, whether it's just a short run or not, but literally I saw so many individuals make so much money over the last week alone, simply because of an opportunity like that. So
right.
I see it like, if you have a passion for it, if you have the talent for it, find multiple ways that you can capitalize on it. Not just when you're hands-on,
I hear
but
that.
What are two other ways that you can generate revenue from this? Because if you're only making money when you're hands-on, then you're still not doing it right.
For sure. Definitely got to make that transition, from, doing it hands-on to kind of stepping away and making sure that the business is still running smoothly. Once again, Startup Nation, we're actually wrapping up with Simone Santana, founder of Akami Enterprises and curator of Simone the Mastermind.com. Once again, if you want to check out all the knowings and goings of Simone and what she has going on, or if you're ready to be a client, make sure you reach out to her. We have all her contact information there in the show notes for easy access. So Simone, it is always a pleasure speaking with you. I always enjoy talking with you here on the Startup Life. And so I just appreciate always your time. But, you know how we shut this thing down. So if you would, ma'am, just kind of give us some words of encouragement to take us out for today.
Absolutely. For anybody that's listening, if you are sitting on a business idea, or even if you have a current business and you're still struggling on how to make it grow, it's really important that you think beyond where you've been thinking. Sometimes our success underlines in a mindset shift. Sometimes it's imperative that we shift the way that we think, and that is what we need to ensure that we grow. So whatever it is, stick to it, map it out, but take that idea that you have for your business times 10. Dream a little bigger and watch how quickly you can grow.
Dream a little bigger and watch how quickly you can grow. Thank you so much. And that's going to wrap up this session of the Startup Life. I want to once again thank Simone Santana for coming on the show. Thank you so much, Simone.
Thank you.
No worries. And as always, Startup Nation, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life. If you want to let us know what you think about the show, have an idea for a show topic, or would like to advertise on a show, send us a message. Our contact information is there in the show notes, or feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Go ahead and follow us while you're at it. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast One, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And be sure to hit us with that 5-star rating. We would really appreciate that. Be sure to check out the show's website and its startup blog, where either I or some of the world's best business minds share content that will give you the edge you need in your journey, whether that's the path of entrepreneurship or climbing the corporate ladder. Subscribe to our Patreon to listen to ad-free episodes, exclusive content, and digital products that we are beginning to offer. And if you want to be part of the conversation, join the Startup Life podcast on Clubhouse to have the ability to talk directly to some of our guests. And as always, Startup Nation, if you have an idea, be about that life, the startup life.